Hey y'all, how y'all doing today? I wanted to talk about this municipal bond analysis report that I was just reading, and I wanted to share that with you, but I thought in order to give a little backstory and background, I thought I could tell you a very brief synopsis of our story and a little bit of my background, because I haven't told our story in a while on the channel. But basically, out of college, I started working for a very large financial planning firm, and that was in 1999. And I worked there about 11 years. And during my tenure there, I observed several things while doing portfolio analysis about mutual funds that was incredibly dishonest. And so as I was noticing these things, even though I was investing in these same vehicles and all these different things, and I'm like, wow, this is real. This is really like kind of like the definition of a Ponzi scheme. And then in 2008, due to a turn of events and some irony, I was relieved of my position there, and I started day trading in 2008. So anybody that's familiar with 2008 and anybody that's familiar with day trading, yeah, that was an awesome experience. And it was a great experience, and I learned a lot. And what I learned is that the stock market is completely rigged, and the stock market is a wealth transfer, and it's not transferring wealth to you, okay? And it's not transferring wealth to me. It's a complete, it's wealth redistribution to the people that play the game at the top of the pyramid exclusively. And they literally, just like the banks, they literally print money. Just like since 2020, there is zero fractional reserve. So we aren't even, banks no longer do fractional reserve lending. Banks completely create money absolutely out of thin air, which they were already doing that, but now they are not even required to hold a fractional reserve. And then now we have derivatives and derivatives of derivatives, and credit default swaps. For any of you folks that remember credit default swaps and mortgage-backed securities and that $14 trillion market that crashed the market last time, supposedly, or whatever. So had all these life experiences, saw all these statistical problems with investing and with mutual funds, besides the fact that there's more mutual funds in existence than there are actual companies for these securities. And then you have all the derivatives thereof, and that there's all very interesting. Another very interesting thing that may or may not be true that I learned in college is that 98% of all investments fail. And then if that was true, then how or why does anybody invest? And this goes back to how modern conventional investing is a wealth transfer, and it is a scam, and it's a Ponzi scheme. So if you reject all of these mainstream methods of investing and, you know, conventional banking and all this stuff, so what do you do? What do you do with your money? So got out of the market in 2008. We lived in the Northeast. It was incredibly expensive. We were taxed very heavily. Insurance, everything was very high. And 11 years ago, we decided to strategically relocate to Texas, and we purposely decided to design and live a slower, intentional, agrarian type life that we thought would be a better environment to raise our children in, a better culture to raise our children in, and a better environment to raise our children in, so that they could have responsibilities, and growing up on a farm, they could kind of have responsibilities and hardships so that we could teach them life's lessons that way. And this isn't saying that everybody has to do it this way. As a matter of fact, I read a book by W. Clement Stone, and it said, observe the masses and do the opposite. And the brilliance in that is that the masses, the democracy, the mob, always comes to a terrible end. Think the stock market, and think of investing with the herds and the masses. That's why they call it stocks and bonds. Stocks, medieval stocks, and the bonds of the bondage of the bond. But anyway, so we strategically relocated to live this slower, intentional lifestyle. We hit the reset button. My wife previously had a career. She made very good money, and she decided that she wanted to become a full-time mother and to train and raise and rear our children, and to pursue her highest calling as a wife and a mother, and to train the next generation to stand on the shoulders of giants, and to achieve more and be more successful than obviously us. And this is how progress is made in society, right? Is we learn from the experience of others, we learn from the mistakes of others, and we build upon that. And the older teaches the younger, right? So that we can transfer not just wealth, but transfer knowledge. And this is the way that God designed it and created it to be. And society's been distracted by gizmos and gadgets and free money and Walmart and big screen TVs and Hollyweird and sports balls and all this stuff. And but needless to say, observe the masses and do the opposite. Another way of saying it is, straight is the gate, narrow is the way, and few there be that find it. Needless to say that the Broadway and the democracy is never going to be the solution. So we move, we reboot, we reset, and new career, start from scratch, don't know anybody, start at the bottom, work your way up, sweat equity, develop skills, learn new skills, get involved in a new industry, and start to develop capital, right? We move to Texas, get a job, learn new skills, start to save, start to capitalize, start to what do you do with it? What are we going to do with this capital? Well, we're going to live an agrarian lifestyle. So we're going to plant a garden, we're going to plant fruit trees, and I finally referred to my food forest as my food 401k. You need dirt to plant these gardens and trees, so we're going to buy land, we're going to buy property, we're going to buy real estate, and I finally refer to that as dirt coin. And we start to do this, we buy infrastructure, tractor, greenhouse, dig a pond, we do all these different types of infrastructure, and then we continue to accumulate capital. So what do we do with it? Well, I know that the stock market's a scam, and I know that banks are a scam. So what are we going to do with it? As God would have it, I got an email, and I was referred to a friend, and he referred me to the infinite banking concept, Becoming Your Own Banker by R. Nelson Nash. So we started practicing private family banking, and we've been doing that for 2.5 years now or so. And that gives us an economic engine for our parallel economy, our parallel society, our parallel community, that quite literally is our family and our neighbors and our community. We bought some cows. We started raising some beef, dollar for dollar, the most nutrient-dense food on the planet. And raising it regeneratively is one of the most ecologically friendly things you can do for not just the planet, but for yourself and your family and your friends, is to produce very high quality, nutrient dense food source for yourself and your community. So that's a little bit of my background and how we currently got to where we are. I'll probably break this out into a part 2, and I want to review a little bit of this current municipal bond analysis, because we're just seeing bubbles stacked on bubbles. We see a student loan bubble that's over $1 trillion. We see a new mortgage crisis. We see there's the mortgage crisis is just as much a pricing crisis, since all the pensions and everybody did get pushed into the market. All that did was monetize BlackRock, Blackstone, State Street, Vanguard, so that they could buy up all the assets on the planet, and so that they could drive up real estate prices to make them unachievable. It's the same thing that what I think is happening with Bitcoin right now and other cryptocurrencies, but I will leave that for part 2, and I'll post that tomorrow. Remember, y'all, the best is yet to come.